Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is my guy. He is 69 years old. He is happily divorced for 34 years and never did it again, unlike a lot of guys out there. And he shares his story how when he was in his mid-20s, he met the gal that became his wife. And because he was young and dumb, but most importantly, desperate because of lack of attention from women most of his life, high school, college, and everything, he got together and married the wrong woman. And to no surprise, well, obviously he ended up divorced. And I thought we'd go over here, guys, to make the point that even though you're young and dumb and you married the wrong girl, make a lot of mistakes, you can have the last laugh. How? By divorcing them, which is exactly what this guy does when she pushes him too far. And what led to him obviously divorcing her, obviously all the BS and cheating involved, the whole how it happens is definitely quite interesting. But here's the funniest part, and I say this all the time. Even though they treat you like crap and they cheat on you and all that, eventually when you finally wise up and have some self-worth and kick them to the curb, you always get the last laugh by A, living a good life, but B, they always come back every time you can set your watch to them, as long as their life turns to crap, which it usually does. And our guy here is no different. And again, for the last 34 years, peace and quiet on his own, a happy bachelor. I thought many of you guys would appreciate this story. He says, Dear SSM, this story goes back nearly 45 years. I'm 69 years old and unattached, and this is the story of my one and only marriage. To a woman I will call Megan, and you can call me Ted. Back in high school, I had severe acne, which left me with significant facial scars. Naturally, this made me very self-conscious about my appearance, and as a result, I had very little experience with women even through college. Most relationships, if you can even call it that, were over in a matter of weeks and almost ended by the girl. Well, that sucks, and that can understandably shatter your self-esteem and self-worth. So when a woman starts paying attention to you, you lose your mind. Well, in the early 80s, I was starting my financial services career in Chicago. One Friday night, my old college roommate Dan and his wife Donna, who also lived in Chicago, invited me to dinner and drinks with a coworker of Donna's, who I had never heard of before and who Don didn't know either. The coworker was Megan. Over dinner, Megan and I got along very well. She was charming and we clicked right away. And I whispered to her at the end of the evening that I'd get her phone number from Dan and Donna and I'd call her. Why don't you just ask her for a phone number right then and there? I'm going to ask Donna for your phone number. But you had little experience back then. Go for it, guys. When you want a girl's number, ask her fucking number. By the next Monday, Dan found out more about Megan's story from Donna. Megan was 3 years older than me and was on a 3-month trial separation from her husband of 6 years. Uh-oh. Though I liked Megan, I didn't want to interfere with anyone's marriage problems at all. So I called her up and told her so. She said she understood and thanked me, and that was the end of it, or so I thought. Well, why'd you even bother calling her? Nice guy shit. Well, 4 months later, I got a call out of the blue from Megan. She said she had filed for divorce, moved into an apartment, and asked if I would like to go out. Coincidentally, I'd just been unceremoniously dumped by yet another girl named Jill. After flying her to NYC one weekend on a vacation, and why? Well, it turns out while we were going to a Broadway play at an intermission, Jill spotted a couple in the audience that were friends with her ex-boyfriend, and that was all it took for her to get upset and realize that she was still in love with her ex. And she dumped me almost immediately when we got back to Chicago. Holy crap, man, you definitely did not have a lot of luck with the ladies back then. That sucks. Yeah, she's more than happy to have you take her to NYC, Broadway, pay for expensive hotels and dinners, and the second you get back to Chicago, oh, by the way, I'm not sure how I feel. And there goes all that money. So I was feeling pretty down and being discarded by Jill on such a flimsy excuse, and I agreed to go out with Megan. Despite the blazing red flag that Megan was barely out of her husband's house, let alone divorced. If only I had said no, the next 10 years of my life would have been so much different. But I now know it was just seeking validation from a woman, any woman. That's the problem, guys. You know, you go through so much bad luck, bad experiences, and you pretty much will take any girl that will pay attention to you. That's why so many guys get in the situations they're in. That's why men have to really work hard to build up a self-esteem by their own accomplishments and things about them they like about, so they don't need a girl to make them feel better about themselves. But also when you're young, you know, that's just what typically happens. I'm saying this from the perspective of a middle-aged man who's been around the block, as many of you have. Well, Meg and I immediately fell into bed on the first date, which got my spirits back up. So he's out with a chick who's barely divorced, and first date, they're hooking up. Fine, but that ain't girlfriend material. Well, Megan was sweet and girlish, and within 3 months, we had moved in together. Smack! Are you out of your freaking mind? Again, any girl pays attention to him, boom. That's what happens to these guys. Well, let's see what happens here. Before we moved in together, I got a second red flag. Her coworker and friend Donna had insisted to Megan that Megan revealed to me that when she was married, she had an affair with another man, so Megan came clean with me. Dude, as if there wasn't already red flags before, that's a massive one. Gentlemen, if you're new here, if your girl admits to you that she cheated on previous boyfriends or husbands or whatever, she's going to do it to you, regardless of what she says. Because when she feels like her needs aren't being met, or she's unhappy, whatever the reasons are, boom, that's what she's going to do. She told me that she would hook up regularly in the evenings at an unused utility room in Chicago's Union Station before getting on the commuter train to go back to their separate suburban homes. Oh, that's very ladylike. Donna had practically gift-wrapped a red flag warning that Megan was for recreational use only. But in my naive, youthful belief that people can change if they meet the right person, I ignored the flag. Well, then you suffered. At first, things were good, but there was a recession going on, and within a year, I was downsized from my job. Fortunately, I was hired by another company, and within a few months. However, I suspect that Megan thought that I may not be on the rise catch that she imagined me to be, and she became very anxious. She developed severe, world-class anorexia over the next 6 months. Oh, man. I tried everything to help her, to no avail. Then famously, Karen Carpenter died of anorexia in early 1983, and I finally put my foot down and said if she didn't get treatment, we were done. Well, good for you. You got to put your foot down. A therapist quickly realized Megan needed to go to a mental hospital. She was hospitalized for 4 months and got down to 87 pounds, and she was only 5'6". Holy shit, man. Oh my God. Well, gradually after working with counselors, she recovered after treatment. A year later, she started to inquire about us getting married, and insanely, I agreed. Smack! Are you nuts? All these red flags, and add the newest one to it, man. Again, desperation. But don't worry, guys, in the end, well, you'll see what happens. Well, I agreed. I was going to late night school for my graduate degree, and we decided to move to Los Angeles in 1986 when I graduated. 2 years after living in Los Angeles, things were going better financially, and we decided to buy a townhouse. We were both working and didn't plan on having children, so although the finances would be stretched, we thought we could make it. After a number of months, because she was lonely due to my long overtime hours, she wanted to get a horse. A horse? LA? Well, there are certain stereotypes about people in certain circles of wealth, and girls got to have a horse. I pushed back, saying we couldn't afford it, but she said she had found a horse that was cheap at a local riding stables in the Hollywood Hills, and she could have the board furnished for free in exchange for her taking care of the other horses, evenings, and weekends, and leading riders on sunset rides to the Mexican restaurant. Yeah, that's how she's going to get the free service, huh? Yeah, we'll see about that. I finally agreed. She quickly ended up spending all her evenings after work and weekends at the stables, coming home later and later. Gee, what is she up to? And of course, she blamed him for working the overtime and extra hours to better his career to help them for this whole thing. Well, meanwhile, I met a young married new staff at work named Anne and took her to lunch on a number of occasions, and we became friends. Anne eventually confided to me that her husband Jimmy was certifiably nuts. Jimmy was formerly on the UCLA basketball team and was a giant at 6'6" tall. She showed me a photo of the two of them together, and he was very handsome as well, yet he was constantly paranoid about Anne cheating on him with other men and extremely controlling. And yet she's going out to lunch with you. That's only going to add fuel to the fire. Her parents even warned her against marrying him, but she did it anyway. Well, then that's on her. Seriously. If he had showed no signs or anything and nobody said anything to her, and she married him, and then these personality traits came out, that's one thing. But if people were warning her about him and all that, that's something else. I don't feel bad for women like this. Meanwhile, Jimmy himself was often stepping out on her. He was sometimes violent towards Anne, often chasing her out of the house, holding a weapon, and she had to flee, naked, to a neighbor's home for protection. Then what the fuck is she married to this asshole for? Again, this is my point. All the signs are there. Why didn't she call the cops, having this motherfucker arrested? After these explosions, Jimmy would apologize profusely and beg for another chance. I was alarmed, told Anne he was dangerous, and suggested ways that she might be able to leave him. But Anne insisted on trying to make her marriage work after Jimmy would calm down until the next explosion. Dude, you can't help women like this, and this is what white knighting is, okay? You know, the guys show you their true colors, and yet the women stay with them. I'm not hearing about the kids or anything. They get all the warnings. No, guys, don't white knight. I can't stress that enough. While I later accepted a more lucrative job offer with another company, starting a new department. Anne had been laid off from her job and had the skill set to be my first hire as my new assistant. Oh boy. Gee, what can happen with her wonderful husband here? I called Anne and told her that I was in the process of getting the position approved by upper management, and Anne was excited. A couple weeks later, she told me that Jimmy was not going to let her work with me. He got into his head the notion that Anne and I were having an affair behind his back, which we were not. Foolishly, rather than walking away from the situation, I asked Anne to talk again with her husband, and she agreed. Why are you putting yourself in this situation? You're only inviting drama into your life. Meanwhile, back to my wife, Megan. She'd always been self-conscious about being flat-chested, and now spoke about her desire to get breast implants. I thought this was a reasonable request if it would help her gain self-confidence, and agreed to pay for it. I, of course, thought it would be a win-win situation. I would also benefit in the bedroom from having a more voluptuous and self-confident wife, or so I thought. Man, all these stereotypes about the Los Angeles lifestyle in the 1980s just piled on here. She has to get the horse. Now she's got to get a boob job. I mean, what else is going to happen? Some plastic surgery on the face? The little dog phase hadn't, I don't think, hit Hollywood just yet. Give it to another 20 years, everybody has the little dogs walking around. She flew to Utah for the surgery, and when she came back home, to my shock, they were way larger than I expected. Oh darn. I'm talking Jessica Rabbit size. Megan explained that the doctor decided, while she was under sedation, that her frame could handle larger breast enlargement, that the implant size they had agreed upon, and put in the larger size. What a load of crap. This guy could be sued for a whole lot of things and lose his license. No, he didn't. That's what she told him to do that. I was skeptical, but I had no way to prove that this was not Megan's idea. About 2 months after getting the implant, out of the blue, Megan confessed to me that she was feeling guilty because she had waited for it, slept with her limo driver on a business trip in the limo. What did I tell you about once a cheater, always a cheater? And if this is what they've done in the past, they'll do it to you again? What do you think she's been doing all those late nights working at the horse ranch? This is when you should dump her. She was so sorry and would never do it again. While I decided to forgive her, the conflicts in our marriage became more apparent. Smack! Okay, so you're causing problems hiring Anne to work for you with her crazy husband, and now you're forgiving your wife for cheating on you, even though you're warned not to marry her because she's a cheater, and now you're inviting her to do it again. Again, guys, this is an example of what happens when you're young and desperate. At the time, we should have been spending more time together to repair a relationship. She'd been spending less time with me and more times at the stable. Yeah, because she's in somebody else's stable. I finally said she should spend a few weeks apart so we consider the future of our marriage and hopefully grow to miss each other more. And she agreed to sleep over at her girlfriend's house while we did so. Are you kidding me? She's probably like, yes! Now I can be away and get as much dick as possible. My intentions were sincere. Unfortunately, as I would discover, hers were not. No, really? One workday night, while I was at home alone, I received a call from Anne's husband, Jimmy. I immediately knew that this was what this was about, and I told him I knew that he thought Anne and I were having an affair. I assured him that we were not, and I asked him to reconsider his opposition to her taking the job. I was planning to offer her that I was willing to offer her when upper management finally approved the new position. Dude, you can't reason with crazy. Rather than being reassured, he started screaming at me that he was going to come to my place of work the next day and off me. Whoa, okay, this is when you call the police. Knowing from Anne's experience that he did indeed have a weapon and was not afraid to brandish it, and now realizing that the situation was hopeless, I told him I would not offer Ann the job. He told me he was coming to my work to offer me anyway. This dude's freaking crazy, and yet Ann stayed with that guy, and yet you were involving yourself with her. That's called white knighting. Don't do it. Now you're putting your life in danger because of this crazy asshole. Panicked, I tried to call Megan at her girlfriend's house to tell her about the alarming situation. Oddly, the girlfriend told me Megan was not there and did not know when she was going to be there. Uh-oh. I told her to have Megan call me as soon as possible and that it was an emergency. I called the girlfriend several more times, including at 2 o'clock in the morning, and every time the girlfriend said Megan was still not back. I thought it was odd that the girlfriend did not seem all that concerned that Megan was not in bed at 2 in the morning on a workday night. I did not sleep all that night, and Megan never called. Well, maybe something happened to Megan. Or Megan doesn't give a crap about you. I think Megan doesn't give a crap about you. I called my boss the next morning and explained that I would not be coming in that day and why. My boss, to his credit, immediately hired an off-duty cop to patrol the office campus in case Jimmy made good on his promise to try to unalive me. Fortunately, when Jimmy called my office, my secretary told him I was not at work and he did not show up. I never heard from him again. Why? I'm not hearing anything about a police report here. Making threats to off you? That's pretty serious last time I checked. I called Megan, my wife, at her office that morning and told her the situation. Megan's mother was flying in from out of town for a visit that morning, and I told her I would meet her at the airport so we could talk. When I got there, Megan looked distressed, but not about my situation. I asked her why she didn't call me back with the previous night. Well, she hesitated, and I remembered that she had talked a lot about a fellow horse lover at the stables, Lorenzo. It's Lorenzo Lamas. That's what's going on. She's doing Lorenzo Lamas before he was in that outlaw show. What was that? What was that biker show in the 90s? I can't think of it. I'll remember later. Lorenzo had asked her directly whether she had spent the night with him, and she looked at me and said, "Oh, what do you want me to say?" But even that was not the moment I realized. That was the moment. But even that was not the moment I realized my marriage was over. It was a minute later when I reached out to hold her hand, and she pulled it away. She was not even willing to comfort me when my life was being threatened. Dude, because she doesn't give a shit about you, and she has no respect for you, and women will never love a guy they don't respect, and you've given her no reason to respect you. You know, come on, bro. I know you know this now, but I have to say this based on younger you so other guys understand this. What happens to white knights and simps? And guys with no self-worth and just play the Mr. Nice Guy role. I realized that her breast implant surgery was not done for anything other than to get attention and validation from other men, not for me. No kidding. Guys, they wanted attention and validation back then as much as they want it now. Okay? Except back in those days, if you wanted to get attention and validation, you actually had to leave your house and walk around on Rodeo Drive where she probably wants to hang out, or at the mall or someplace in public. Now you just take a picture of yourself, put it on social media. Later that day, Megan told me that she loved me, but was not in love with me. A line so ancient, I'm surprised it's not in the Old Testament. And we decided to divorce. Thank the Lord. It's about time. You should never married her in the first place. Remember the warning you got from your friend? She never returned home. And 4 weeks later, she called me and said that she and Lorenzo had broken up and whether I thought she and I could get back together, once again illustrating SSM's famous maxim, they always come back. Of course they broke up. He's her Chad. He's her playboy. And he's not going to get serious with her. Dude, it happens every time. Every time. She's not coming back to you because she misses you or loves you or suddenly realizes she's in love with you. Because her options are short. She needs someone to pay the bills. I reminded her that she had pulled her hand away from me the moment I needed support from her the most, and that was the breaking point for me, and I declined. Good for you, man. You finally are learning. As for Ann, she wrote to me about 18 months later and said that night Jimmy had tied her to a chair when she came home and held a weapon to her, trying to exact a confession for something she didn't do. Holy crap. Not that I'm surprised. You should have been surprised. And yet she was still with that a-hole. The next morning, she got on a plane to Germany, where her parents lived. Jimmy flew to Germany to try to beg her to return to him, but her parents wisely shielded her and divorced him and stayed in Germany. Later, she met and married an army officer and has been happily married with children ever since. Well, thank God she learned her lesson. Freaking psycho. But again, why I don't hear anything about her ever reporting this asshole to the fucking police. He gets away scot-free, or are you reporting him to the police? Yeah, I get you're afraid that regardless something's going to happen, but still. Otherwise, this guy, people like this just walk around the streets to do this to people. Well, Jimmy died a number of years ago, and although I never found out how, oddly enough, I'm in a strange way grateful to his paranoia over imagining an affair between his wife and I for enabling me to discover my wife's real affair with Lorenzo. If I knew where his grave was, I should put flowers on it. No, you should not put flowers on Jimmy's grave, even though his actions led you to seeing your wife's true colors. No, if you find his grave, you should water his grave, not put flowers on it. As for me, I've been happily single for the last 34 years. Bro, who can blame you? Whenever I've attempted a relationship, inevitably I have been reminded of another SSM maxim: women love drama. They will deny you the one thing men long for even above even love, and that is peace. I'm sure there are good women out there, but many women can and will create drama when the relationship enters what the husband calls the peace, the wife views as boredom. I wish I could report some of the new lessons for others to be learned from my life story, but sadly, I just made the most moronic mistakes so many guys like me just make. And my story is just another crazy one to be thrown into the pile. Bro, you're not alone. There are countless guys out there that have done plenty of dumbass shit when they were younger. Wrong girl, married the wrong girl, gave her a second chance when she shouldn't have gotten one, learned the hard way. Countless stories around the globe. But I do these stories so guys can learn from that. Hopefully somebody doesn't do what you do. I made tons of mistakes when I was younger, dude. I get it. The only benefit is that the next generation of men now have the repository of cautionary tales and SSM at their fingertips, so that hopefully they don't make the same mistakes as the generations that preceded them. Well, anyhow, guys, I have, I don't know, a couple thousand videos on this channel alone. I could have 200,000 videos, and still guys will keep making the same mistakes, thinking they know better, or she's different, or their self-esteem is dog shit that they don't, they'll take any girl who pays attention to them. And big surprise, human nature is the same around the world. And it doesn't make a difference whether it was 40 years ago in Los Angeles or today here in Miami. It doesn't make a freaking difference. It's all the same. But that's why we share these stories. Guys like to write in their stories because it gets things off their chest, makes them feel better, it really does. It's amazing. But also, they feel like a silver lining to their fuck-ups can be, they share their stories and someone can learn from it. Well, I assure you, gents, some people are learning from your stories. But the majority guys, because we're so thick-headed and think we know everything, are going to keep fucking up, and most guys have to learn the hard way. But anyhow, man, yeah, you married the wrong girl, and you didn't listen to the warning signs, and you ignored the red flags, and once a cheater, always a cheater. All these things are proven in your story. But at least you had the last laugh in the sense that she tried to come back and you're like, nope, not happening. You'll learn. And you haven't been married since. You've been a bachelor ever since. So you had the last laugh. I guarantee you her life ain't that great. I'd love to know what happened to her. This skinny ass, 87-pound thing with giant ass fucking Dolly Parton tits. I don't know how she doesn't fall over. She starts walking down the street, boom, falls over. Because a girl like that probably wears high heels. So she's walking around with high heels on her skinny ass. Okay, let's just say she wasn't 87 pounds anymore. Let's say she was 102. Little 102-pounder on high heels with these big-ass tits, bowling ball tits, starts walking, boom, falls to the ground. But anyhow, we can all visualize, have a good laugh. So, brother, thanks for sending in your story. I know I gave you a hard time, but you were expecting it, and I had to. So, guys, lesson learned there. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a good personal story you want to send, be sure to send over strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.